Chapter 5. Kitty. "It's obvious you're not in love with the guy," said Haley with authority. "What do you mean?" An indignant Kitty frowned at her friend. It was late afternoon, and the store was slow at the moment, so Kitty, Haley, and Maya were stocking items. Kitty was lucky enough to work with some of her friends at Haley's shop, where various pottery items were made and painting classes were held. "It's so true," Maya agreed. She straightened the display of pottery mugs behind the cashier's till. "Haley and I have decided that you're not in love with Tristan so much as the idea of him and what he represents." "You knew he was cheating on you," addressed Haley. "You saw the signs, but refused to break up with him because you didn't want to give up on the dream of being a stay-at-home mom and married to a guy of means." "What is so wrong with wanting to be a stay-at-home mom?" questioned Kitty. "It's what I've always wanted. No offense, but I don't want to go back to school or have a career. I love kids. I love the idea of being a housewife, taking care of my family. The only way to do that is with a guy who's financially stable enough to afford a one-income household." "Not with Tristan, though," added Maya. "And I didn't know he was cheating," insisted Kitty stubbornly, even as her mind whispered her doubts back to her. "The lipstick on his collar?" Haley raised an eyebrow. "His excuses as to why he was always working late? His wanting to check your cell phone to see if you were cheating, but not letting you check his?" "All red flags," tutted Maya. Kitty pouted a little as she rearranged a few teapots to make room for more stock. She had ignored the signs. Kitty acknowledged this to herself. She had made up excuses for him and hoped for the best while ignoring her intuition. Kitty had seen the credit card purchase for the ring on his bank statement by accident and had held out for the rock, thinking it was meant for her, and she could get Tristan to be faithful once they were married. Kitty let out a wistful sigh. Her head had been full of weddings and babies. "I really thought he was going to propose to me this time." Maya rolled her eyes. "Even if he did, it would end in disaster. Tristan is a selfish, conceited jerk." "Hey," Kitty mildly said. Hurt her friend would call her former boyfriend such names. Not that Tristan wasn't those things. It just said something about Kitty's judgment in men. "We tried to tell you," warned Haley. She grabbed a box, working on replenishing a rack of colorful clay flower earrings. "You wouldn't hear two words against the guy." "You know who you should date," started Maya. Kitty held up a hand to forestall her friend. "I really don't want to hear it. I think I'm going to wait for a while. Let my heart and ego heal before jumping into another relationship." Haley stared at her friend in disbelief. "That is the first mature thing I think you have said in a while." "Thanks," Riley responded Kitty. "I love you too." "I think you should date Ben." Undeterred, Maya continued. "He's exactly what you're looking for." "What?" A surprised Kitty shook her head. "He and I are just friends." "Exactly," smugly said Maya. "Plus, he owns his own condo, not like Tristan, who mooches from his parents. Ben has a steady job. He is a kind guy. He's great with kids. I think he would make a cool dad and a steady, reliable husband. I'm pretty sure he makes enough dough so you could be a stay-at-home mom. You would never have to worry about him cheating on you, not with the extra pounds." "He has lost some weight, you know," Kitty defended Ben. "I've been dragging him to the gym, and Ben is doing really good. I wish you would be nicer to him and not make any chubby jokes. He's just a little husky." "Actually, the weight thing is a bonus," mused Haley. "If you gained a few pounds, he wouldn't care or be in a position to criticize. You could eat more chocolate guilt-free." "How did she even meet Ben anyways?" wondered Maya. Her head tilted to the side as she tried to remember. "I dated a friend of his before I met Tristan," sighed Kitty. "We all met at some bar. When the relationship dissolved, Ben and I were still friends." "He might be boring, but he would give you what you want," said Haley. "Stop it," admonished Kitty in a stern voice. "I'm going to go stock up the plates." Kitty grabbed the appropriate box and left her friends to their own devices. Taking the packing tape off the box, she began plucking out packing paper, setting it aside. Inside were stacks of colorful plates waiting to be set out for customers. Her thoughts returned to what her friends had said. She could admit to herself Tristan was just a bad habit. It was true. Kitty was more in love with the dream he might represent than the reality. He had been playing with her heart on and off for years now. Kitty had been very young and impressionable when Tristan and she first met. Who was she kidding? She was still young and impressionable, Kitty thought derisively. One might think her impetuous heart would learn not to trust in his smooth words and promises, but Kitty was a repeat offender, letting him smooth-talk himself back into her life each time. She kept forgiving Tristan and hoping for the best. He had used her. Ben would never use her. If anything, their relationship was decidedly in her favor. Ben was always willing to help her out or take care of one of her problems. Ben really was her best guy friend. He never asked for anything in return. Kitty had never thought of him as dating material, probably because he had never made so much as a move in her direction. She couldn't think of a time when he had dated someone else. Her friends were right about some things. Ben would make a wonderful dad. Kitty had seen him with his nephews, and he was great with Nick and Oliver. He was reliable, steady, responsible. Ben would be a good husband. Kitty bit her lower lip, turning the thoughts around in her brain. It would be an idea worth pursuing, if only there were any sort of spark between her and Ben, or if he had given any indication that he was interested in her, which Ben never had. Emptying her box, Kitty checked her watch. She realized it was the end of her shift. She had been getting fewer hours lately, which had been okay when Tristan was showering her with extra cash. Now she needed the hours. "Haley, are there any extra shifts?" inquired Kitty as she flattened the empty cardboard box. "I can't do before Christmas, but I could do any shifts after. Surely someone wants extra holidays." "Sorry," shrugged Haley. "Everyone seems to be keeping their shifts. It's a tight economy." "No kidding," sighed Kitty. "Okay." Kitty signed out for the day. Grabbing her winter jacket, she took the bus back to her apartment, where she roomed with 3 other people. Once inside, she went straight for her closet. The wedding she had agreed to go to with Ben was coming up, and she wanted his opinion on what she would wear. Grabbing 3 dresses out of her closet, Kitty remembered to take her purse, which Ben had helped retrieve from the taxi service. He really was her hero more often than not. Kitty had a smile. Ben was her hero. It was a funny thought after Maya's suggestion. Maybe there was something to what Maya had said. Then again, there was no spark. Kitty couldn't be in a relationship without spark. Shrugging, she went through the apartment. "Hey, are you going to pay rent?" one of her roommates asked. "I get my deposit from work tomorrow," Kitty reminded him. "Once that comes in, I'll give you the money for the month." "You're a week overdue," he grumbled. "It's coming." Kitty went out the door, locking it behind her. She really needed to find another job with more hours, or even a part-time gig to supplement her budget. It was another reason Tristan had always been so attractive. He had always been happy to spot her some cash. Tristan was gone, Kitty firmly reminded herself. He was getting married, and whoever his girl was, she could have him. The bus dropped her off near the entrance of Ben's condo. The doorman allowed her in, knowing she was a regular visitor. Ben had given her a pass key and put her in the facial recognition system, which was part of the security for his condo. Then, if he wasn't home for some reason, she would have access if she needed to come in. Kitty let herself in, chucking off her shoes and hanging up her coat. "Hey, Ben." Ben came out of the bedroom, doing up the cufflinks on his suit. "I think I might need a belt." "I said you lost some weight." Kitty critically looked at the suit. It looked good on him. Ben rarely dressed up, and he was rather handsome when he did. She came forward to straighten his tie. "You're looking sharp." "Last time I wore it, the jacket was tight," grimaced Ben with a self-depreciating look. "I thought I should try it on to be sure while there was enough time to get a new one if necessary." The last time he had worn the suit, it had been for his brother Nate's funeral. Kitty had offered to go to the funeral with him for support, but he had turned her down. Ben had expected to spend much of the funeral helping to care for his two nephews who had just lost their father. When he came back, Kitty had cleaned out his fridge and told him in no uncertain terms he was going to start taking care of himself because she wasn't losing him. She had dragged him to the gym every day since and stocked his fridge with healthy alternatives. Friend that he was, Ben had let her without protest. She didn't even think he had cheated on the change of food. Realizing she had held his tie for too long, Kitty let go and backed away, clearing her throat. Quickly picking up her dresses, she held them up for inspection. "Which one should I pack to wear?" "All of them," replied Ben. "It's a 3-day affair, so I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to wear each of them." 3 days? Blinked Kitty in surprise. "Yeah, it was on the invitation. We arrive Friday for cocktails and mingling. Saturday is the wedding. Wedding lunch, photos, more mingling, then supper," explained Ben. "Sunday is the send-off brunch. It's a whole weekend thing. Those who want to stay Christmas Day, Monday, are invited as well. Otherwise, they can go home to their own Christmas thing. I guess it could be a 4-day thing if we want." "Wow, you guys really know how to do a wedding," murmured Kitty. The good news was she had the weekend booked off. She was free until Boxing Day, when it was all hands on deck at the store. "Are you certain I don't have to pay for my room or anything?" "Yes," Ben assured her yet again. He was going to pay for her room. Not that Kitty needed to know that. "The whole thing is paid for. Anything you want, just charge it to the room and it'll be taken care of. Don't worry about meals, gratuities, the souvenir shop, or anything else." Kitty grabbed the dresses and headed for the washroom. "Don't change clothes just yet." Quickly, she shucked her outer clothes. Grabbing a dress at random, Kitty pulled the silky material over her head. Drat! It was the dress that she had a hard time doing up the zipper. She had forgotten to bring her dress hook to slot in the zipper to make it easier. Kitty debated a moment with changing the dress out for one of her other dresses. Then a wicked little thought came to her. Why not? She would test the waters a little to see where they went. Maybe she was crazy, Kitty thought to herself. There was no reason to ruin a perfectly good friendship over a what-if. Then again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Holding up the bodice, Kitty exited the bathroom. "That is a nice dress," complimented Ben. "Thanks." Suddenly, Kitty felt a little nervous. She didn't know why. She had known Ben for years. Sweeping her hair over her shoulder, she presented her back to him. "Would you mind?" Sure," spoke Ben. A moment later, she could feel his warm fingers on her back. He pulled the zipper up with a bit of a jerky motion. It got halfway, then reached the trouble spot. "It's stuck," a disgruntled Ben said. "Sometimes the zipper gets caught in the fabric," explained Kitty. "If you just move it back down, it usually unhooks." "I can program anything, but I'm stymied by a zipper." Ben had a small chuckle. He worked the zipper down, then slowly back up, careful of the fabric. "There, should I do up the hook at the top?" "No, I'm just going to end up taking it off in a few minutes." Kitty tried to tamp down her disappointment. Usually, guys would make a move when presented with a bare back, even just running a hand down her skin. Not that Kitty was the sort of girl who would let the move go far with someone she wasn't in a relationship with. She had that much going for her. Ben pulled her hair gently back. "Now you're perfect like always." She felt a slight shiver. Kitty turned around to find Ben standing just a little too close. She cast around for something to say. "Would you like to dance?" "Dance?" he echoed. "A practice dance," Kitty suggested. "We haven't danced in a while. Maybe we should again." Okay," ventured Ben. "Should we have some music?" "Sure," agreed Kitty. When Ben brought out his phone, she plucked it out of his hand. "You have awful taste in music." "What? I don't," protested Ben. "You listen to all that pop junk." "Pop is fun," smiled Kitty as she blasted a beat from his phone. "Pop won't be at the wedding," advised an amused Ben as he took the phone back. "There'll be a small orchestra playing mostly classical." "No DJ? How do you have a wedding without a DJ? Scoffed Kitty. Please tell me the bar is open. It is. Ben set the tune to a common wedding theme before setting the phone down. He offered her a hand. May I have this dance? You may. Kitty smiled and took his hand. She let Ben lead her through the motions of the dance. He really was good on his feet and easy to follow. After a few songs, she tipped her head back to look at him. Does the orchestra play any faster songs? Not really, shrugged Ben. Truth be told, he rarely paid attention to what the orchestra played. He didn't dance much at weddings. Too bad, murmured Kitty, snuggling closer and leaning her head on his chest. Ben immediately slowed the pace to a near crawl, just holding her. Kitty stayed in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. Nope, she decided a little sadly, there was no spark. Thank you for listening to this chapter of The Wedding, Book 10 of the Ramsay Brothers series. If you'd like to leave a comment in the comment section, I would appreciate it. In my spare time, I love reading your comments, especially the positive ones. Sometimes I even reply. Happy listening!